See, I feel like it's time for us to like go away from here, you know what I mean? I've been thinking about it for a long time. See, let's go to Africa. Yo, I've never been more serious in my life. I mean, we've been to the islands, we've been everywhere. Who says we can't go to Africa? That's our dream, to go to our homeland, where our roots are.
In this fall, man, it's very tough. In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach.
We're taking our talents to Africa.
Africa.
Africa?
No.
What? What? Oh my God, this is big news.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are, and thank you for joining us today on our YouTube channel, Off the Wheel. I'm Dale.
Hi, and I'm Dacia.
And this channel will document our transition off the wheel, living here in America, in Brooklyn, New York, to make that move to Africa, Ghana in particular. And today we're going to be talking about a variety of topics, but we're going to start off with the why, our why. So when we returned from our first trip over the summer in Ghana,
We came back with a plan to possibly move in 5 to 10
years. Yeah.
It was 5 years we went
like,
down to.
It was long.
Okay, it was a 5-year plan to transition to the continent.
And then every time we talked about it and became more excited about it, our ETA started shrinking. So it went from 5 years, then it was 3 to 5 years, then it was less than 3 years, then it was somewhere between 1 and 2 years, and then we woke up one day and we were like, why not just next year? And so our ETA is to move in September of this year. So this is like the official countdown. So I think the two of us have different reasons for why we would even consider. So we'll start with you because you were the one that actually had always thought about Africa, whereas I never thought about leaving New York City. So why for you?
Well, I guess in general, my why was I had always wanted to visit the continent. I didn't know when I was going to visit. I didn't know what country I was going to visit. I just was always in my mind that I wanted to be there at some point in my life. And it just became so apparent that we needed to do it sooner than later, based on just how things were going in the United States. We said, you know what, let's make a trip, see how we like it, and make a plan for the future.
Do you remember how you first brought it up to me, even before we decided to book our trip? Do you remember that time?
You mean the months before or
months
the years before?
Years before? I'm trying to remember.
Well,
do you remember?
Years before, I remember writing a short story, and for some reason Ghana was in the short story. And the reason Ghana was in the short story was because the father that I wrote about in the story was talking about going back home to Ghana. Why it came into my mind, or how, if it was through a dream, I really don't remember. But I always had Ghana as sort of that focal point of where I would want to visit in Africa. No specific reason at all.
And what about retiring to Africa? That was the, the trigger for visiting. But then you started talking to me about possibly your Act 2.
Right.
What's Act 2?
Well, I would say for me, Act 2 is living life after 50, if I can say that, a different way than how I was living life before 50. We have this pathway, I guess you would say, that we follow in the US and in developed countries, that we have to, you go to school, you work, you save, and then you retire at a certain age, you get Social Security, and then you keep going from there. I decided that for us, I wanted it to be a little different. And that switch didn't really go off until about 2 years ago.
Basically, you say you didn't want to work like a dog all the way up to retirement. I
Correct.
That's what you were telling me.
That's the gist of it. Act 2 was sort of living on my own terms, or on our own terms, in a place,
a different way.
Yeah, that I really felt that I could come home to, quote unquote, but also really start to live where you can actually enjoy the day-to-day of life, instead of trying to strive to, I'm going to work for the week so I can get off on the weekend to enjoy. I want to be able to enjoy a little bit each day, and I feel that with this transition to Africa and writing our own, making our own path, it'll be easier or more apparent to get to that point.
So for me, after you had been talking about it for some time, we talked about taking the trip, and I was lukewarm to the idea. I wasn't sold on the idea, but I wasn't shutting down the idea right away. I was open-minded, and I think when we talked about traveling for the first time, I wanted to go not as a tourist, but I wanted to go and try to live as close to a native citizen as we could for the short time that we were there, and we did that. And I wanted to not see the best of Ghana, but I kind of wanted to see everything from the worst to the best that Ghana had to offer. And I think when we got there and we saw the worst to the best, even the worst for us wasn't bad. And it was at that point where the answer to the question of why not, for me, was it's possible. So for me, the big hurdle was asking the question for the very first time as a result of you bringing it up, you pushing it forward, and me asking the question for the first time. And then when we went to visit, the answer became very apparent. Also, this channel is, one of the goals for this channel is to inspire other Black Americans like ourselves, to show by example what's possible. And so we'll be creating content around a variety of topics to show how we went from thinking about it, talking about it, visiting, planning, and eventually moving. And so that's one of the other goals of this channel, Off the Wheel. Also, one of the goals of this channel is to share resources. Resources can be things that we've learned along the way, things that we've learned from other people who've done it in different ways. And we want to bring those resources to you in a variety of platforms, whether it's on our YouTube channel, whether it's in our e-letter for our members, if you want to join, or on our Clubhouse platform where we talk about this as well. So resources is going to be a big thing that we share with you, pre-move, post-move, and for the rest of this channel. And finally, one of the other goals of this YouTube channel is to recruit other Black Americans to ask the question, why not as well, and to join our membership of like-minded Black Americans who want to go to the continent and collectively use our expertise, our lived experiences, our capital to engage with the countries that we live in a very intentional and collaborative way.
So who are we? So as we said, we live in Brooklyn, New York. I am originally from Georgetown, Guyana. That's in South America. And I migrated here when I was 8 years old with my family. I have lived in the United States ever since. And currently I am working as a pharmacist in a hospital in Brooklyn, New York as well. And I've been a pharmacist for over 25 years.
And my roots are from the South. My mother was born in the South in Alabama. She tells me often times about her experiences as a child, as a teen, and living on a sharecropper's farm in Gee's Bend, Alabama, and how she left and came to New York, which is pretty brave at the time, to do domestic work. And she had me here in New York. I was born and raised in New York, born in Queens, spent a lot of time in Brooklyn, and I was first generation college graduate. My mother, I believe, did some high school, and so a lot of our cousins, a lot of my cousins were first generation college graduates, and I graduated with an accounting degree, went on to get a master's in finance, worked on Wall Street for some time, and then started my own investment company that I've been running for almost 25 years. And we have been married, we've been together since 2010, married since 2014, and that's a little bit about us.
So now that we've talked a little bit about ourselves and you got to know us, what does this channel mean to us?
Personally. Well, I know we talk about it often. It means a lot of different things to us, but for me, one thing it kind of felt like for me was equivalent to when LeBron James held a big news conference and said that he was taking his talents to South Beach. It's kind of like when LeBron was from Cleveland. I felt like that's the equivalent of us having a connection to Africa. But then LeBron went to South Beach, Miami, to learn how to win championships. And then he returned home to bring those skill sets back to Cleveland, where he fulfilled his ultimate purpose, which was to bring a winning attitude to where his home and his heart was. And I feel like us moving from America to Ghana is kind of like that. We're connected to the continent, but we're here in America You've been honing your skills in healthcare for a quarter of a century. I've been honing my skills in finance. We're at the top of our games in our respective industry and disciplines, and now we can take those skill sets and expertises and that winning attitude back to Cleveland, back to Africa, and fulfill our own personal purpose. So that's kind of one way that I look at, what does off the wheel mean to me. I also felt like it was important to go beyond what a lot of Black Americans who are living purposely attempt to do it here in America, which is spend money with Black vendors, spend money with Black-owned companies. Most of my investment clients, maybe 97% of them, are Black Americans, African Americans. But I think that I'm going to find great purpose in not only spending with Black companies and Black vendors, but to be in a position where I'm spending my money in a Black country, a Black continent, where all of my, or most of my discretionary spending is going to support Blackness. And for me, I find that to be, very fulfilling.
One of the other reasons is, just going somewhere where you actually feel welcomed and you feel as though you can move around, I guess, freely, and you can interact with people in a way that you want to continue interacting with them, and it's not just a transactional encounter, that it's something that you can actually build and sustain on. And I felt that comfort level very much so when I went to Africa the first time, and just talking to people, you felt a sense of genuineness when you spoke to them, and you felt like that you can really live here comfortably in different types of surroundings and not always having to look over your shoulder. So that was a really big impact for me when I went to the continent, to Ghana.
And I personally feel like we're at the beginning of what I characterize sometimes as an expat tsunami, so to speak. Right now, there's been a lot of activity surrounding Black Americans moving to different countries in Africa, Ghana in particular, but also Rwanda, Kenya, Nigeria, to name a few, the top countries actually. And typically those early movers have taken a spiritual path primarily, wanting to buy land, wanting to build on the land, wanting to trace their roots, connect to their roots. But I think that there's going to be a real watershed moment of Black Americans moving to Ghana, even beyond the spiritual connection, just from an economics point of view of how the American dollar and the American revenue stream goes a long way in African countries because of the strength of the dollar. And so I believe that people like us are going to be the new wave, the bigger wave of people coming to Africa. I hope that we can be a part of that tsunami in a good way. So what do we want to leave our viewers with on our first episode?
Well, we want to leave you with, if you've never asked yourself the question, why would I leave the US? Why would I leave to go to Africa? You should ask yourself that question right now. Why not? Why not consider it?
And what I would want to leave you with is just knowing that maybe you've had these thoughts in isolation, maybe you've had questions in isolation, but you should be comforted in knowing that there are a lot of people having these discussions around the States in what, seems to be siloed conversations. Whenever we tell friends and family about our plans, it's always amazing to hear how someone who we had never talked with about Africa all of a sudden has all of these connections and had these plans and had these thoughts in their own head about visiting or moving or doing business in Africa. And we had never even heard about this, but these conversations turn into this long, 3, 4, 5 hour discussion. And the more people we tell, the more kinds of, discussions and inner thinking that we uncover. So there's a lot of people around the country having these discussions, and we want to create a community to bring all of these people together to make the idea of it not foreign but familiar, and not something that sounds crazy, but something that sounds doable. And so that's what I would like to leave for our viewers in our first episode. A place where you can come and talk with people who don't think you're crazy, talk with people who are doing the work in the transition, talk with people who have made the transition, and to join the movement.
Thank you for watching.
And to keep connected to us, please join us on all of our platforms. We'll put these up on the screen right now. Our website, this YouTube channel, and our Clubhouse room. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.